What we try to do is flip the roles, show diversity, show persons with disabilities, and look at it as an opportunity because nobody else is doing it.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. My name is Talal, and you are listening to the Popcorn and Soda Podcast, the show where we discuss all things movies, pop culture, and so much more. I want to thank each and every one of you for making me a small part of your day. On today's show, we're joined by a very special guest. He is a trailblazer in the Canadian fitness and media industry. He's one of the founders of one of the most iconic Canadian segments of the last 3 decades, BodyBreak, which highlighted the importance of exercise and healthy living in 90-second vignettes. Furthermore, his work for diversity and inclusion in the media industry has helped inspire the next generation of BIPOC creators in this space. On the show today, the very talented Mr. Hal Johnson. How are you, Hal?
Good, thanks. I think you are very talented. I'd argue with that, but pretty lucky, more than talent.
No. I'm going to give you that, Hal. I know you're too humble to accept it, but from one creator to another, you're extremely talented. How have you been over this last 18 months, Hal? We're living in such a crazy world right now. What did it look like for you?
It was pretty easy. I mean, I'm living up here in Muskoka and just... I like being by myself with my family anyway. So we do a lot of hiking and kayaking and things in the woods. So for us, it hasn't been nearly as difficult as it has been for other people. And as you get older, you're not as social. You as you were, like I think when I was in my 20s and 30s, I mean, I was out all the time with people, with friends. As you get older, you're not. You're just not as social. So it doesn't distract or it doesn't limit your lifestyle nearly as much as I can appreciate how difficult it is if you're a younger person. You're just itching to get out and meet with other people. I'm not. I'm quite content to be here at our place and. My big day is moving rocks around, using big granite slabs and moving those around and building a walkway. I get excited about doing that kind of stuff now, so as opposed to going out to the nightclubs and partying.
Well, hey, it's great to hear that you and the family are doing well, and it's really interesting that you bring that up. And I think after this pandemic, as it starts to wear off and we start returning to somewhat of a normal or a new normal, I think hopefully people's priorities and hopefully people start to realize the things that are the most important are your family and spending time with your loved ones. And it's so great to hear that you've been doing all right over the last 18 months.
No, absolutely. And as I would say to all your listeners is, make sure you get your vaccination because that's really going to be the freedom card that gets you out there to do what you want when you want to do it. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think the government should actually start imposing the stick like France has. And, you're not allowed to go in restaurants unless you're vaccinated. You can't get on an airplane unless you're vaccinated. That'll turn people who are, somewhat hesitant or just ignorant of what they should be doing. That should get them moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, go get your vax. Got nothing to lose. It's just going to help reopen the economy quicker rather than later. Hal, I am so fascinated by your story. I grew up watching BodyBreak segments every day before school started on television. And being a person of color myself, I just remember being so happy to see someone that looks more like I do than the majority of things that I was watching at TV on the time. Before we deep dive into all things BodyBreak, where does this all begin for you? Where did your love of fitness start?
Well, my love of fitness was just really a love of sport more than fitness. We never, growing up in the 60s and 70s, you really thought of fitness. You really thought of just playing. And so I just loved to play. And And that's why, our slogan, keep fit and have fun. It really is all about that, go out and having some fun. And so that's really what we would do, and that's what we would as a kid. And so I just really transformed that idea from, playing baseball and hockey and football and basketball and all the things that I played. And we thought, well, we transition that into a show. I mean, there was a lot of things that went into it, but it was we thought, well, we can get people active, get them out there, and having fun. And now we call it fitness, but really it was just out having fun.
What was your sport of choice? I know you were a multi-sport athlete, but what was that one sport where you just dominated at?
Well, I went to the highest level of sport that I went to was baseball, and played for the national team and got a scholarship, University of Colorado, playing baseball. But I love hockey. I play hockey still today. And at 65, still out there, on the ice as much as possible. I built a rink behind me this last winter. I was out skating on that. So there's a lot of things I still love to do. And as you get older, you transition to things. I wasn't a big hiker before, but now I really, really enjoy hiking, going out for 15, 20 kilometer hikes in the woods. I love that activity. I love cycling now too. So I cycle quite a bit. Maybe go out for a 30 or 40K cycle, a ride. And so as you get older, you transition to different activities that are, say, less grueling on your body and less impact. And so cycling and hiking are the two that I really much enjoy.
As a sports fan, how excited were you to finally see fans back in these arenas and in the stadiums? It just adds that extra element of things you just can't duplicate or create with fake audience noise.
Well, that's true, but I scratch my head, and I talk to my American friends by this. How can you watch, the Tampa Bay Lightning play, and they have 20,000 people in the stands, and then you watch the Montreal Canadiens, they have 3,500. You go, somebody's doing something wrong here, and so I think it's been proven the Americans have been doing something wrong. There was sports is it's great to have it, but you have to think of the pandemic. It's not what you want; it's what you need to do. So I think it's quite selfish to fill the stadium with people, because people will do what they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
That's not necessarily what they should be doing. And so I think politicians have been quite weak and not really telling the patrons, here's what you need to do for your own health. I mean, it's often like people are like children. They want, and politicians bend to that want. And I think I don't think the stadium should be filled. If I got a ticket to go to the Jays game with 15,000 people in it, because it's outdoors, because it's 15,000 in a 50-state stadium, sure, I'd probably want to go down, and I certainly would want to. I probably would go down, and because I'm vaccinated. But what they should do is not only let vaccinated people in there, a proof of vaccination, and that would make it, yeah, sure, I'll go, not a problem. So that's where I think that as I said, the stick should be used more than the carrot of getting people vaccinated and getting people, opening up our economy. It should be your responsibility as a Canadian to get vaccinated.
Absolutely. And I agree with that 100%, Hal, especially because, as you mentioned, people are itching and just aching to get back to normal. But again, we can only do it if you do it in a responsible way. And being in Toronto, and as someone who's in Ontario as yourself right now, it's been a tough last 18 months. And that's largely due to a lot of people's everyday decisions that they're making and the wrong decisions that they're making. So here's hoping that hopefully in the next little while, people continue to get vaccinated and people continue to make informed decisions rather than impulse decisions.
Yeah, I think when you say it's tough, I often look at other people, other generations' difficulties. So when I think I've got something that's really hard, for example, if I have an injury and I'm limping, my leg hurts. My cousin had to have his leg amputated because of infection. So I go, hey, my leg hurts. His was amputated. No big deal for me. And I think of that same respect is that you think about in England in the 1941, 1942, 43, how difficult, how tough it was for them, to be bombed every night by the Germans. Like, that's tough. Saying that you can't go to a nightclub or you can't go and shop at Home Depot or Costco. That's not tough. You know what I mean? Like, that's an inconvenience. That's not what you want. But basically, suck it up and do what you should be doing. So I have a pretty, put it this way, if I was elected, I may be only elected for one term because I would do what you need to do, not what you want to do.
Well, there you go. Maybe we just need Hal Johnson in charge, and hopefully that would get things back open. Hal, transitioning over to your career in media, it's such a contrast where you have yourself as this stark athlete, someone who's into fitness, and you transition over to media. What attracted you to this medium?
Well, I was doing commercials, TV commercials for fun. And I always thought, there was a lack of diversity. And I thought, well, we could, there's a way to get it in, the way to, way to change the culture. And I thought, well, let me create my own thing. And so then I went ahead and did that with Joanne. We created it together. And so it was really a matter of seeing not only an opportunity, but a gap of why isn't there anybody that looks like me? Why isn't there anybody, showing persons with disabilities? Why isn't there, equality for men and women doing the activities together? Everybody had their own roles. And what we tried to do is flip the roles, show diversity, show persons with disabilities, and look at it as an opportunity because nobody else is doing it. So if you go back and look some of our BodyBreak episodes on our YouTube channel, it's like we were doing this 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, showing diversity, showing, girls playing, young girls, 12, 14, playing soccer and encouraging that sort of thing, things that have come out in the last 10 years, we've been doing, for over 30 years. And so it was an opportunity to, get the word out there, and we thought it was, again, also the right thing to do. And I think history will, if you do the right thing, history will prove you right time and again. So just, do the right thing, and, at the end of the day, things will work out.
BodyBreak is one of these Canadian pop culture institutions almost where everyone knows that theme and the names Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. It was so ahead of its time because not only did you have a person of color, as you mentioned, as yourself, but we saw an interracial couple on screen, and that was not something we saw every day in the 80s, the 90s, heck, even in the early 2000s. In your opinion, how significant was that, especially to be shown on television at the time?
Well, again, my thought was not to convince white people that this is the way to do it, but my thought is to show people of color, to show people who are doing interracial that, hey, you are part of the landscape. Hey, yes, you are out there. It's not just you. And so I've heard from a lot of interracial couples over the years that appreciated it, that felt that hey, it's just not. I'm just not alone here. And so there was that feeling. And so I think that was, from a positive perspective, I never had in my mind that, I want to convince white people that this is okay. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to show that kid in a wheelchair that they're part of the landscape. I wanted to show, that's what we wanted to do. So it's really, racism, we wanted to, I think you break it down by not hitting somebody over the head, but educating them. And so that hopefully we educated people, but hopefully we encourage people. And now, you watch commercials, you watch any Sleep Country, and you'll never see a Sleep Country commercial with two white people. There'll be an Asian and a black, or a white and an Asian, or whatever. It's like they go, oh, look what we're doing. And every commercial seems like it's that way, which is great. And now, young people today kind of take it for granted that, oh yeah, well, that's how it is, especially if you live in Toronto, because Toronto is probably one of the most multicultural cities in the world. And so we see everything all the time. But now you see it on TV and you go, oh yeah, that's normal. Well, as you say, back in the 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s, that wasn't normal.
Definitely. And that just goes back to show how important the show really was, especially the things you just mentioned. These things weren't normal. And you were trying to, and again, maybe not subconsciously or directly, but a lot of these things that you guys were doing at the time, it reflects almost what the world looks like today. It does reflect the way the world looks like today. And you guys were so ahead of that. And I'm living proof that BodyBreak helped inspire the next generation of BIPOC content creators. In the year 2021, with the power of the internet and Zoom, here I am talking to you on my own platform, two people of color, and me being directly inspired by you and that TV show. It really shows the influence people have through media.
Oh, media has an incredible way of shaping opinion, way of shaping, especially as young people, the thought process in terms of what they can achieve. If you believe it and conceive it, you can achieve it. But if you don't see anybody who looks like you have an oftentimes you go, geez, I don't think I could be an airline pilot because I never see a black airline pilot. And once you see black airline pilots, you go, gee, I want to fly. I want to be a pilot. I can do it. And I think that's really, one of the things that we consciously wanted to do. We were played so much by YTV, and it was so good that they did us because we were able to show kids that they can achieve anything. And it really was, that was a really positive idea of showing kids that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve. And so along with YTV, TSN, and all the other networks, played us about 1,500 times a week on over 140 stations. So we really became part of the Canadian culture, and it certainly surpassed all of our expectations of what we would be able to achieve.
How often do you go back and watch some of your old BodyBreak segments?
Well, occasionally we do, because they're all on our, we've got over 300 of them, and about 140 are on our YouTube channel. And every week we release a new one type of thing, one of the old ones. It's kind of nice to do it. There's a story behind all of the stories as well. So behind each one of the BodyBreak episodes, there's a story, kind of a fun thing or funny thing that would have happened, or like one example is like when we were had to do 17 takes on one. We were so tired, it took 17 takes to do one line in one of our fitness episodes, and we were doing it like 4 a.m. because we had to shoot when the gyms were closed. So we would come in at 10 o'clock at night and shoot till 6 a.m. type of thing into a gym. And then we'd have all the extras and everybody in there working through the night. And then as you got really tired trying to know your lines and do all the things. And plus the fact, because we edit, we write the scripts, I direct all the shows. So we're writing, we're directing, Joanne does all the editing, so we're producing the whole thing. So there's a lot of work involved to do it. And it was really just Joanne and I together putting this all together. So it was funny because somebody said to us that we were YouTube before YouTube. Coming up with the short little things, that people can, and now YouTube does YouTube Shorts. So it's really, we were very much thinking ahead of our time, but it was really more that, as opposed to doing a half-hour show, which we eventually did 39 half-hour shows, we thought, well, people can take these segments in short bursts, give them an idea, set up a problem, give them the solution, and then go back to having fun. And that's essentially the formula of BodyBreak.
That's so true, especially in this viral world where everyone's attention spans are so much smaller and shorter than they usually are or were back in the day. Yeah. You guys were creating these shorter segments, and in a world where we have TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts, you guys are the prototype for that in many ways, especially here in Canada. Now, what do you find has more of an impact? And I know you kind of touched up on it just now, the shorter clips or the 30-minute episodes that you did, do you find there was a stark difference in the feedback you guys were getting?
Yeah, absolutely. You get, because of the body break, because the short 90-second, 1 minute, and then 30-second body breaks, because we had to, as the times went by, we shortened them up as you went, is that the frequency of the being seen 1,500 times a week, you couldn't get away from us. So if you're watching a show on TSN or watching a show on YTV or CBC, no matter who you were seeing a body break all over the place. So, and it would come in, and and you couldn't get away from it. It's like a commercial. You kind of go, well, it's there, and you're hit by it. And so, and one of the, let's say, tricks that we did is that when you sent your tape, when we sent our Betacam tapes to the stations, we would mix the audio. So the beginning part of it, body break, was in the red. So when the stations would play our BodyBreak episodes, the opening 6 or 7 seconds would be louder than the rest of the show. And that's because they would be in the red. Mm-hmm. And so that way, when you come on from you watching your show at a certain level, BodyBreak would come on and it would go, body break, it'd be louder to grab your attention. And then it would go back to a regular level. So the stations would accept it. And for example, before, if you're watching a regular show and then a commercial comes in, oftentimes the commercials are a little louder, and that's on purpose to grab your attention, and that's what we did. And oftentimes people say to us, they go, when they say body break, they almost like sing it. They go, body break. It's like
it's a little jingle almost.
The music is in their head. Yeah. And there was a friend of mine who wrote the music, Dave Clark. He said to us when we were setting it up, he said, you want to say your name and you want to say the name of your show. So that's why it's Body Break with Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. And Dave Clark is actually the person who actually is doing the voiceover who wrote the music. And so it was great advice for him to say our names and to say the name of the show, because every time you saw it, you heard our name. Every time you saw it, you heard the name of the show. So from a marketing perspective and branding perspective, we were branding, and never using those terms back then, but we were branding every time the show was on, which again, go back to your first question, your point. The short versions are far more effective to brand and to put an impact on people than the longer versions.
What do you get asked about more, the BodyBreak theme song or the mustache?
The mustache. It's kind of iconic. Didn't realize it was at the time, but I actually grew the mustache when I was on Team Canada. The entire team did. We all grew mustaches over in Japan, and we grew them because we wanted to look older and tough. And so, when you get to be 65, older and tough is not what you're trying to get to. You want to be, you want to be relaxed and younger. So, so that's really why I grew the mustache, and I just kept it on. I actually had a Fu Manchu for many, many years in university, and then I cut it down to regular mustache. And now when I grow out my beard for a week or 2 weeks or so, I get so itchy. It's I can't handle it, so I shave it off. But
it's one of those iconic things, the Hal Johnson mustache. Chris Hadfield kind of took it over, but hey, there's only one Hal Johnson. There we go. You produced this great video last year, Hal, about how BodyBreak combated racism, and that's kind of been a central thread throughout our conversation today, and more so the progression of inclusion in this industry. As someone who's been in this industry for the last 30 years plus, where are we today in terms of inclusion in this space?
Well, I think in front of the camera we're certainly a lot better, but I think behind the camera it's not that much better. Whether it be a grip, whether it be a cameraman, whether it be an audio person, there's not a lot of diversity, and that's unfortunate. I think it's kind of like firefighters. Being hired as a firefighter, oftentimes in the past, If your dad was a firefighter, he got you in to being a firefighter. And the same is true in the media business. You know, your parents got you, if they were in the business, they got you an apprenticeship at TSN. And TSN used to have that like that. If your dad was a director, he could get his friend's kid in to be an apprentice. Well, now you're getting in there to be an apprentice, so you're learning, you're going to Ryerson, you graduate, you'd worked at TSN on your resume, boom, it's easy for you to get a job. Whereas that person who doesn't have connections doesn't. So it's, and so that's why you see a lot of it is kind of legacy people that have been in the business, and hopefully that will change, and there'll be more women. I mean, I've been on so many shoots, and I literally can count on one hand the number of female, I've never had a female audio person, and only 3 female shooters in all the years of interviews and different things that I've done. And I've done literally thousands of them. Only 3 camera people that have been female, and 1 person of color that has been a camera person. So I would say behind the camera, there's a long way to go. And also, you know, ownership and direction. We were able to make the decisions on BodyBreak in terms of putting in people of color, putting in different people, diversity, because we own the show. So we made the decisions on who would go in and who's out. And I'd go to an agency to hire people, and I say I need a person in a wheelchair who's South Asian, and then that's because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So.
On the last subject of BodyBreak, what's the future of this brand?
That's interesting you say that. It's, I don't know, quite frankly. I mean, we do a lot of speaking engagements from here, from our studio. We do a lot here. We do, that's kind of what our mainstay is, but we've done a lot. There's different opportunities that come up for us to do here and there. We're doing a commercial with Connor McDavid next month. We're doing, we do different things here and there, and it's fun. But I don't want to say we're retired, but we're just having fun doing our own thing. And when opportunities come to us, we'll either take advantage of them or we'll pass on them. So it's we're semi-retired and just doing our own thing. We're enjoying life as much as possible, and that's one of the problems. There's 2 elements of today's media, like what yourself is doing. You have an opportunity through your podcast to do it. All you open it up, and it costs you a little bit of money. You open up, get a camera, boom, you're broadcasting. Back in the day when we started, that couldn't happen. But we had to spend what was about $3,000 and a lot of help to get one pilot episode together out there that we did. And so it's easy for you to put something up. However, your impact, once we made it, our impact was so big in terms of one BodyBreak episode would be seen thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Today we would call it trending. Every BodyBreak episode trended because it's being played. Each episode every week we're sending out about 13 every 6 months. I'd say doing the math, that every episode every week was being played 1,000 times to millions of people. So we were getting millions of views every week on a particular episode. Nowadays, you produce something, and this is what we look at. You produce something, and maybe 1,000 people see it. And so you've gone to all that work and effort for a very small number of people to see it. And maybe you get something that 4 or 5 or 6,000 people see. And so not only the economics is difficult, is that it's like you put all this effort in, and you kind of go, why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? And that's the same with us. That's why we've kind of, it's like, with Instagram and YouTube and all the other things that we've done, it's like, well, do we want to really do it? Because, how many people are going to see it? It's not going to have the impact, because we're used to literally every millions of people seeing it. I put a series of videos that I haven't put up on our YouTube channel yet. I will be short, probably in the fall. I had a knee replacement done in January. And so I'm going to be, I chronicled my knee replacement in terms of both pre and then during, actually got the surgery, the video of the surgery, and then post-surgery. So I've got all of those things. So it's, and kind of how I've managed to get my knee back, all the work, all the training you needed to do. So anyone who's looking to get their knee replaced, it would be of interest to them. I did that almost, I chronicled it as a way of keeping me on track and keeping me thinking about what I had to do. So it was kind of a distraction for me as I went through this process.
It's really interesting you bring that up, Hal, and that's something that I'm really fascinated with the world today and the technology that we have at our disposal, and the two of us just through the internet, through Zoom, a microphone, a camera. Everyone's a content creator. If you've got one of these, you've got a camera, a microphone, everyone's just trying to go viral, everyone's trying to create content. But you're right, it gets to a point where there's so much content out there, and the difficulty of trying to weed out your content against other people's or trying to make yourself stand out. It's fascinating to see the evolution of media and content creation.
Yeah, I mean, look at your setup. What you have there is that you've got a good camera, you've got a good microphone, you've got you've gone to the professional end of things to make it look good. The lights over your shoulder just give a little bit of backlight.
Yeah.
Like there's a thought process to going through that to put it all together. A lot of people won't notice it.
Yeah.
Who are not in the business, they'll just look at it and they'll say, "Oh, it looks good." Oh, they'll look good and go, "Oh, is that a fake background you got?" Because they won't realize the effort that you've gone through to make that happen. And that's the way, to me, that you can stand out literally in this crowd of so many people out there. And that's one of the things that I look at. So when we do presentations, when we do it from here, quite often, I said to myself, if I'm going to do a presentation, I'm going to make it a professional presentation, and I'm not just going to stand and have my laptop looking and have it look up my nose as I'm doing a presentation, and then have my slides being shared through Zoom. I'm going to put a real production together, and so that's why we're able to, run as we would call chyrons or lower thirds. We can do all kinds of things to make it look like a television show, as opposed to looking like a Zoom call kind of thing. So that's where I think people have to, step it up. It's an editor said to us one of our first edits. We were down in the editing studio, editing one of the BodyBreak episodes, and understand it was costing $250 an hour to edit, and each edit would take about 45 minutes, which now you can do in about 45 seconds. So to understand, every edit cost money, and we knew that. And the editor said, he goes, "Well, that's good enough." And I said, "If that's good enough, that means it could be better." And we spent another 2 hours fixing that edit to make it look, that shot, making it look better. It may not have, no one at home may not have noticed it, but what people would say to us about BodyBreak is, and it was a compliment in a kind of a backhanded way, they would say, "Oh, I thought you guys were American. It's like so well done, and it's really, the production value looked really good." And it's because we went to that extra level, always shot when it was sunny. We would cancel shoot days if it was cloudy. So it was always sunny. It was, we always, the audio was good. We had really good professional camera people and audio people. So we went to the level of production, just like you have, where you've gone, I've got that little, it's different. You're setting yourself up and different than the the regular, say, podcaster who hasn't put that thought in.
Well, I appreciate that, Hal. Thank you. And that's only something that I've noticed that other fellow content creators really understand. And they're the ones that get it, that there's more to just turning on a stream and just recording. The amount of time, hours that go into having that professional presentation, it's so important. And I really admire someone like yourself who's got that on your end as well. So I appreciate that. And that's just great advice for anyone listening that wants to either start a podcast or take photos or anything in the creative sphere. You want to find something that really sticks out and put time and effort into it. If other people don't see that side, that's all right. As long as you know you're putting in your best presentation, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit extra effort. And, yesterday I talked to the Canadian Caribbean Association, the kids. I talked to 200 kids yesterday. And that was really my message. It was really about, when you say, did you give it your best shot? And people, oh yeah, I tried hard. Well, no, did you give it your best shot? Did you think of everything you could do to make it that much better? And whatever you're going to do in life. And I think that's, with what you're doing. I mean, again, I've been in the business for 33 years. I've been interviewed by a lot of people. I can tell the difference. I could see as soon as you popped up, you're prepared. You knew what you needed to do. You've got it. Like just as you moved your head on that shot there, I could see the light that is reflecting off of the light behind you. But when I'm looking at you, you don't see that light. You're hiding the light that's behind you with that. So it's like those are little things that no one else is going to catch. But if you're in the business, oh, you're doing a good job, And as I said, just those two little lights behind you says attention to detail. And if you do the little things, the big things will take care of themselves.
There you go. Wise words of wisdom from Hal Johnson himself. As we wrap up with the great Hal Johnson, it is now time for a segment I call the final act. Hal, I'm going to ask you 10 rapid fire questions about your likes and your dislikes. And I just want the first thing that comes to your head. You up for it?
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Movies or TV shows?
TV shows.
Theater or watch at home?
Watch at home.
Favorite movie?
Casablanca.
Favorite TV series?
Seinfeld.
Summer or fall?
Fall.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll take that. First one to say it that enthusiastically, so I'll give you that, Hal. Favorite workout?
Right now, it has evolved over the years. It's hiking.
Favorite cheat meal?
Easy. Cherry pie with ice cream. I'm not sure that's a meal, but I'll make it one.
All right. What's the one exercise that anyone can do that is not ready to go back to a gym or doesn't want to exercise in a gym from home?
Push up.
And lastly, will we ever see the mustache come back?
Never.
Bam, there we go. Sorry to break hearts, people, but rest in peace, the mustache. Hey, we got the reruns. You can always go watch those. Hal, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. And thank you for your contributions to this medium. I'm in this industry largely due to the road that people like yourself paved. And for that, I'm very thankful. I wish you all the best. I look forward to having you back on the show to discuss your next project.
Great. Well, thanks very much. And thanks for having me. And until next time, keep fit and have fun.